Hi, good morning. This is a Supreme Court judgment on the power of arrest under Customs and GST Acts. The citation is Radhika Agarwal versus Union of India. I would name this as the draconian power given to the authorities. Those who are well versed under the Customs and GST Acts, they will know the provisions regarding the power of arrest. I did not have to cite the provisions. Simply put, there are two types of offences which may be committed under the Acts. One is cognizable offence and the other is non-cognizable offence. Cognizable offence is an offence for which the police officer or customs or GST officer in our cases, they can arrest without warrant. Non-cognizable offence is an offence for which an officer cannot arrest without a warrant. This is the main difference. Before the judgment of Supreme Court in Om Prakash, offences under the Customs Act were treated as non-bailable, whether cognizable or non-cognizable. And once a person is arrested, that person will remain in jail for a few months because it's a non-bailable offence. He will be in prison. Only in Om Prakash, Supreme Court held that if the offences are non-cognizable, then the authority cannot arrest without obtaining a warrant from magistrate. This is naturally a major relief to the officials of the company. The decision in Om Prakash held the field for nearly 12 years. Legislature also made suitable amendments, accepting the ratio of that judgment for protecting the life and liberty of the citizens, mainly employees of the companies. Supreme Court in this case dealt with the preconditions and safeguards which have to be adopted by the officers of Customs and GST Acts before the arrest. Supreme Court lays down the following preconditions before arresting a person. First, a diary duly paginated must be maintained by the authority. The officer must inform the grounds of arrest to the person arrested. You have done such and such mistakes, hence we are arresting you. Officers must maintain records giving details of name of informant, name of the person who has violated the law, nature of information received, time of arrest, seizure details, statement recorded, etc. they must maintain. Then officer making an arrest is required to bear an accurate, legible and clear indication of their names to facilitate ease of identification by the taxpayer. They must have a badge. Person arrested has a right to meet the advocate of his choice during interrogation, but not throughout interrogation. Advocate bar authorized person, he may be present within visual distance during interrogation, but he cannot be within either hearing distance, nor can there be any consultation during interrogation. Every question you cannot come out and say whether I can say this or not. These are all, everybody may know this. The officer must forthwith give the information regarding the arrest and place where the arrested person is held to any of his friends, relatives or other persons as may be disclosed by the arrested person. The arrested person must be informed of this right. First of all, they must inform him. You can, if you want, you can inform these persons. The details must also be entered in the case diary, which is maintained by the officer. The officer must take reasonable care of the health and safety of the arrested person. So, in case if there is some heart attack, like some political party, MPs or ministers, then the officer must take care of him. As already said, the offences are classified as bailable, non-bailable, as well as cognizable and non-cognizable. The reasons to believe must reflect these classifications when justifying an arrest. The officer must note down whether it is bailable or non-bailable, whether it is cognizable or non-cognizable. If it is non-cognizable, naturally it is bailable. The reasons must also outline the monetary thresholds given under the Act. The reasons to believe must also include a computation or explanation based on factors such as goods seized, etc., to establish the guilt of the person arrested. Supreme Court says this is necessary for judicial review on the power of arrest because they will see the statement and how much is the tax evaded, and then they will conclude. The grounds of arrest must be given in writing before the arrested person is produced before the magistrate. In Arvind Kejriwal case, just before he was produced before the magistrate, then only they gave the reasons. So, Supreme Court found that is one of the grounds why the Supreme Court granted relief to Arvind Kejriwal. They said, "What is this nonsense? Just before he was put before that magistrate, you are giving it. How will he know exercise his right of bail?" That is what they said in Arvind Kejriwal. So, Supreme Court here says the grounds of arrest must be given in writing before the arrested person is produced before the magistrate. This will enable the accused to challenge and contest his arrest and seek bail from the court. This is to fulfill the constitutional mandate of Article 22. Then, Supreme Court says when it comes to specifically GST Act, Section 132(4) clearly states that non-cognizable offences are bailable only when the amount of tax evaded or ITC credit wrongly availed or utilized or refund wrongly taken exceeds rupees 500 lakhs, 5 crores. Then the offence is non-bailable and cognizable. It has been specifically given under the Act itself. To pass an order of arrest under the GST Act, the Commissioner must satisfactorily show why the reasons recorded that the person has committed a non-bailable offence. Otherwise, the arrest is illegal. Then, arrest cannot be made to merely investigate whether the conditions are being met. So, you cannot first arrest the person and then see whether the tax evaded is more than 500 lakhs. Arrest must be made based on the reasons recorded by the Commissioner, which must be based on evidence establishing the satisfaction of the Commissioner. The submission of the petitioner, that is the taxpayers, that power of arrest must be made only after an assessment order is passed. Because only in assessment order they quantify what is the amount of tax evaded. Only after that, it was not accepted as a general proposition. Because Supreme Court says there may be cases where the limit may be exceeded at the time of investigation itself. The sufficient proof may be there. For example, bogus invoices. Somebody, you can see, even ladies, chartered accountant, one lady chartered accountant was arrested for raising bogus invoices. Huge bogus invoices, more than 500 lakhs. So, in those cases, they need not have to wait for passing the assessment order. That is the view of the Supreme Court. Finally, Supreme Court says the principle of benefit of doubt is equally applicable and should not be ignored by the Commissioner or Magistrate. Because in all criminal cases, that is why many of the ministers and MPs are the murderers. They get out of the criminal cases citing the benefit of doubt. So Supreme Court says the principle of benefit of doubt is equally applicable and should not be ignored by the Commissioner or Magistrate. This is the view of the Supreme Court. But a separate then with regard to compulsion to make payment, Supreme Court says Supreme Court called upon the revenue to submit a data regarding the collection of tax using the power of arrest. Because this is one of the things, they are extracting tax by using the power of arrest. After seeing the figures in the statement, Supreme Court observed that the figures themselves indicate that taxpayers are compelled to pay tax as a condition of non-arrest. Either you pay or I will arrest you. This is the usual technique by the authorities. This has been glaring from the statement. That is what Supreme Court says. The Act gives an option to the assessee to pay tax voluntarily, but not confer the right on tax authorities to compel or extract tax by using the power of arrest. In such cases, assessees can move the court for refund of tax and department should take action against the officers. I don't know whether these are all these statements may look very attractive, but how far effective I don't know, because the officers must have told the lawyer officials to go and get the money. So how far they will take actions against the officers, I don't understand. Supreme Court also said that anticipatory bail can be moved on the apprehension of arrest. Court can consider and grant bail subject to the conditions whatever the court wants to impose on the accused person. It is not essential that anticipatory bail must be moved only after FIR is filed. This is what Supreme Court said. This is the view of the two judges. But a separate judgment has been written by the third judge on judicial review. The He has penned down the following judgment. Article 21 and 22 permits both punitive and preventive detention, provided it is according to the procedure established by law. Court is expected to take into consideration the right of the arrested. So, first, what is the right of the arrested? Scope and object of legislation. Balance the right of the individual against the society. This is what, in a judicial review, the court should consider. According to him, according to this judge, judicial intervention is warranted only in exceptional circumstances. Please note, only in exceptional circumstances when the arrest is prima facie found to be malified or prompted by extraneous circumstances or breach in provisions of the Act, or when the authority has no jurisdiction. Only limited judicial review is available according to him. One is malified, arrested. Second is prompted by extraneous circumstances. Three, breach in provision of the Act. Four, authority has no jurisdiction. So he says, on these grounds, judicial review is possible. When the legality of arrest under Foreign Exchange Act, Customs Act, or GST Act is questioned, the court should be extremely loath in exercising its power of judicial review. This is what he says. Very, very important. The judge is of the opinion that sufficiency or adequacy of the material on the basis of which belief is formed by the officer, or the correctness of the facts on the basis of which such belief is formed to arrest the person could not be a matter of judicial review. This is very, very important, hence I am repeating. The judge says sufficiency or adequacy of the material on the basis of which belief is formed by the officer, or the correctness of the facts on the basis of which such belief is formed to arrest that person could not be a matter of judicial review. This is what he says. I think this is more dangerous. In my comments, it will follow. The subjective opinion or satisfaction of officer to arrest a person cannot be a matter of judicial review. Any liberal approach in construing the stringent provisions of special acts like customs and GST, it may frustrate the very purpose and objective of the acts. Frequent or casual interference of the courts in the functioning of the authorized officers who have been specially empowered with these powers to combat the serious crimes within court. I am giving, not the judge. It may embolden the unscrupulous elements to commit such crimes and may not do justice to the victims, who in these cases could be the society at large and the nation itself. According to the judge, with the advancement in technology, the very nature of crimes has become more and more intricate and complicated. Hence, minor procedural lapse on the part of the authorized officers may not be seen with the magnifying glass by the courts in excess of powers of judicial review, which may ultimately end up granting undue advantage or benefit to the person accused of very serious offences under the special acts. I repeat only that portion, very, very important. Minor procedural lapse on the part of the authorized officer may not be seen with magnifying glass by the courts. Then he says the power of judicial review has to be exercised very cautiously keeping in mind that such review may not lead to judicial overreach, undermining the powers of the statutory authorities. The powers of judicial review should not be exercised unless there is manifest arbitrariness or gross violation or non-compliance of statutory safeguards provided under the special acts. This is the sum and substance of the entire judgment. So broadly, the judgment says what are the safeguards available to the person, how this power has been misused by the authorities for extracting tax, and finally, judicial review. At what point in time the courts can entertain judicial review? So these are the three major points given by the Supreme Court in this judgment. In my view, uh, it's a welcome judgment. I'm not saying that the Supreme Court has clearly laid down the guidelines, how the officer must maintain the diary, what are the things he has to do, how he must arrest, calculation must be there prior to arrest, grounds of arrest must be communicated, etc. It's all very good, very fine. But in my view, point number one, the power of arrest is mostly used for welfare of the officers than the welfare of the nation. I'm very, very clear about this. I am sorry to say this. The officers may get offended. There may be honest officers. I don't say all are corrupt, but at the same time, if I say all are not corrupt, then everybody will come, I am not corrupt. They will compare themselves with the other officers and say, no, 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 I am not corrupt, like Officer X. So the power of arrest is mostly used for the welfare of the officers. I again repeat, than the welfare of the nation. I can give multiple examples. First, ED officer in Tamil Nadu was arrested, Enforcement Directorate officer in Tamil Nadu was arrested by the vigilance wing of Tamil Nadu government with cash, hard cash of 40 lakhs rupees in his car. So somebody must have given it and tipped the vigilance. They, that is one. Two, recently in Chennai, two sales tax officers, must be GST officers, police officers, and IT officials were arrested. There was a shocking collaboration between the officials of government and criminals. They have planned in such a way those who are going to be raided. Before that, they went and then caught the cash and took it away. The incident was looking like a thrilling movie, actually, according to me. Point number one is over. Second, the honest can be arrested, while the dishonest can easily escape from the net by greasing the palms of authorities. That is also there. Third, I don't understand why no trade association or industry association represented against a threshold amount of rupees 500 lakhs as cognizable offence. Why I am saying this? For a big industry, rupees 500 lakhs may be a very, very small amount, 5 crores. Now the turnovers are booming like anything. So 500 lakhs is nothing actually. For small industries who are evading it, it may be a very big amount. They may not be reaching that turnover for the entire year, but they may be evading tax. It should be based on percentage basis, either on turnover or tax evasion. 10% of tax evaded compared to last year, or 20% of tax evaded. If this is the threshold, if they have kept, then it becomes easy. That is what I am saying. So the amount of tax evaded will be compared with the turnover or the payment of tax they have made in the last year. That percentage should be kept in mind, according to me, and not the amount, 500 lakhs or 100 lakhs, etc. Then fourth, the health of the company must be ascertained from their balance sheet. If the company is healthy, then the authorities can attach all the bank accounts till an assessment order is finalized instead of arresting and shaming the employees. If a company is healthy and there is, let us assume 500 lakhs tax is evaded, but they can easily pay. What is the need for arrest? Why people should be arrested and shamed? He can pay it. Let him, you attach to the extent of 500 lakhs in the bank account. If you attach the bank account, they will not release. Let them fight in the court. Why should the person should be arrested? Then, fifth point, jails are already full. The way it is going, I think honest people must be put into jail. All honest people in India should be arrested and put in jail. It will become very easy for the police because jails are extremely full. Even the courts realize the law is uh, bail is the rule and jail is an exception. This is what the court says. So I will say, put all the honest inside the prison. Then it becomes very easy. Then sixth point, the third judge, even though agreed with the majority view, but diluted the concept of judicial review. I really don't understand when the judge says sufficiency or adequacy of the material on the basis of which belief is formed by the officer or the correctness of the facts on the basis of which such belief is formed to arrest the person could not be a matter of judicial review. I think otherwise. I think more than the law, this is the basis for arrest. If there is no sufficient material or the facts are completely wrong, let us assume, that should be the first criteria for judicial review. In any case, the company officials are not criminals, according to me. I do agree because the brain is so clever. People, in the name of planning tax, they do not know the borderline, the tax evasion and tax planning. So they may cross. I do agree. But I can say at least 90% of them are honest. But can we say the same thing about the officers? That is my question. Then, seventh, I have my personal experience. I worked in corporate. I generally desist from disclosing my own personal experiences or the cases handled by me. Generally, because it's kind of I hate it. I loathe to disclose that. But here I need to say this. Once I went to Mumbai for special valuation of because related party transactions were there. We were importing something, and then related party transactions generally we get an order. So 3 years without any trouble, you get the imports at the same price. The the behavior of that officer, I am sorry to say, he said the same words. I will arrest you. This is what he said. I know from where he is coming. I am only going for a order for related party transaction. The officer, that too is a lowest officer. I can tell you. His name I don't want to disclose the name. His designation I forgot. So lowest level officer. He was behaving in such a extremely bad manner. Another incident I can tell you. One audit party came to our office for auditing the records. These are all happened when I was there, as an employee, because I practiced for some time. I was an employee in the corporate, and then now I am in practice. An audit party came. The first thing they said was, "Boss, you pay us 10 lakhs. We will not look into the books. We will give you a clean check." When I said I belong to a multinational, they said all multinationals are paying this. Why can't you pay? This is what they said. It is my personal experience. Hence nobody can doubt it or deny it. The behavior of the authorities is less said the better. I thoroughly understand why the authorities behaved in such manner to me on those occasions. So this is also one point to be kept in mind. Then eighth point, I am saying courts are also not very honest. I am sorry to say. A judge was compulsorily retired by Madras High Court very recently for amassing wealth. The charges against the judge was acquisition of at least 25 immovable properties by his wife. Not one or two, 25 immovable properties by his wife without informing the High Court, and purchase of BMW car. Besides, suspicious credits of lump sum amounts running into several lakhs in his salary account. What do you say about this? I don't know. I cannot say about the courts because immediately sensitive issues. But this is there in the newspaper. All newspapers are there. Anybody can see it. So finally, my point is, even though this judgment gives some relief to the companies, I think the courts are far removed from the reality because naturally, board of directors, if they don't get into the market, how will they know how the market behaves? They have to get into the market, see what is really happening on the ground level, and then they must decide. If you are far removed from the reality, then the law is one thing. Law is one thing. I don't know. That is why they call it law and practice. Practice is totally different. So this judgment is a welcome judgment. According to me, I really respect the judges the way they have written the judgment. But in my view, the reality has not been taken into account. There is much more than what meets eye. That is what I would say. Thank you very much. Have a great day.